Have you ever had that quiet moment where you looked at yourself in the mirror and thought, how did I get here? You used to have boundaries. You used to have big dreams. You used to stand tall and walk proud. But somewhere along the way you started shrinking just a little. At first it was to avoid conflict, then to make others happy. And before you knew it, pieces of yourself started slipping away. This video is for the version of you that's tired of bending just to keep the peace. It's for the part of you that knows, deep down, there are things in your life you should never sacrifice. Not for anyone, not for love, not for approval, not even for comfort. Because here's the truth, if you keep giving up little pieces of who you are, there comes a point when you look around and you don't recognize yourself anymore. In the next few minutes, we're going to break down 7 powerful things you should never give up, no matter who enters your life. These are not just nice-to-haves. These are your core values, your foundation, the unshakable truths that make your life yours. Before we dive in, one quick thing. If you find value in content like this, take just a second to hit subscribe and tap the notification bell. It lets the algorithm know you want more content like this, and it helps us keep creating the messages that matter. Alright, let's begin. Because protecting these parts of yourself, your self-respect, your time, your dreams, isn't selfish. It's survival. And more than that, it's freedom. 1. Your self-respect. If there's one thing you must protect, even when everything else is falling apart, it's your self-respect. Because once that's gone, everything else starts to collapse with it. Your confidence, your sense of worth, your ability to say no when something doesn't feel right. Here's what no one tells you. Most people aren't trying to destroy you. They're just testing how much of yourself you're willing to give up to keep them around. And the second you start compromising on your self-respect, even just a little, they learn they can push a little more, and a little more. I've lived it. I was in a relationship once where the disrespect didn't show up like a storm. It came slowly, like drops of rain. You're too sensitive. You always take things the wrong way. Maybe you're not cut out for that kind of job. It didn't sound cruel. It sounded subtle, reasonable even. And because I didn't want to start a fight, I let it go, again and again. But eventually I started hearing those words, in my own voice. I started questioning everything I said, everything I did. Until one day I looked in the mirror, and I couldn't recognize the person looking back. I had become someone who needed approval more than I needed peace. And let me tell you, that version of me was exhausted. Reclaiming my self-respect wasn't easy. It meant having uncomfortable conversations. It meant disappointing people who were used to me being agreeable. It meant walking away when all I wanted was to be understood. But it was worth it, every second. Because self-respect isn't about being loud. It's not about proving a point or winning arguments. It's about knowing who you are and refusing to shrink just to make others feel bigger. And yes, when you start setting boundaries, some people will say you've changed. But what they really mean is, you're no longer easy to take advantage of. Let them say it. Let them leave. Because when you hold on to your self-respect, you open the door to something better. Real relationships, real confidence, real peace. So let me leave you with this. Never trade your dignity for temporary connection. Never explain away disrespect just to avoid conflict. And never apologize for protecting your peace. You owe that to yourself. 2. Your dreams. Let's get one thing straight. Your dreams are not a luxury. They're not childish. And they're not something you should tuck away in a drawer, only to revisit when it's safe. Your dreams are a part of your identity. They are the fuel that gets you out of bed. They remind you there's more to life than just surviving. But somewhere along the way, people convince us to downsize them. Be realistic. Play it safe. Maybe later, when life calms down, what they really mean is, don't make me uncomfortable with how big you're thinking. I remember the first time I told someone about a dream I had. Their face didn't light up. They just tilted their head and said, "Wow, that's ambitious." Not in a supportive way. In a "you're reaching too far" kind of way. And for a moment, I believed them. I started editing my vision, making it smaller, more acceptable. But here's the truth. The people who tell you to shrink your dreams, they're not the ones who'll feel the regret if you let them go. You will. You'll feel it when you're stuck in a life that feels too tight. You'll feel it when you look around and realize you've been living someone else's version of what's safe. And you'll hear it in those quiet moments when you ask yourself, what if I had tried? Let me tell you something you need to hear. Your dream doesn't need to make sense to everyone. It doesn't need approval or a perfect plan. It just needs you to believe in it enough to start. Even if it's small, even if it's slow, even if no one claps for you yet. Because a life without dreams, that's a slow kind of dying. You exist, but you're not really alive. So don't let anyone shame you into settling. Don't let comfort kill your curiosity. And don't wait for someday. Start building your dream now, in whatever way you can. Even if it's just 10 minutes a day. Even if it's just writing that first sentence. Even if all you do today is refuse to give up. Because when you protect your dream, even in the smallest ways, you protect the most important part of yourself. The part that still believes life can be more. 3. Your time. There's one resource in life that's more precious than money, more valuable than talent, and more powerful than we realize. It's your time. And once it's gone, it's gone. No refund. No rewind. No do-over. But here's the hard part. Most of us don't lose our time all at once. We give it away, slowly. 5 minutes here. An hour there. A quick favor. A meeting we didn't need to attend. A conversation we didn't want to have. And just like that, days, weeks, even years pass, filled with things that never really mattered to us in the first place. I used to be that person who said yes to everything. Need help moving? Sure. Extra shift at work? I'll stay late. Someone calls just to vent for an hour while I'm in the middle of something? I guess I can pause. At first it felt kind, generous, like I was being a good person. But over time I started to feel it. That subtle resentment, that quiet exhaustion, the sense that I was always busy, but rarely fulfilled. I get to the end of a day and wonder, did I do anything today that mattered to me? More often than not, the answer was no. Here's what I've learned the hard way. Saying yes to everyone else's agenda usually means saying no to your own. And no matter how much you care about others, you cannot build a meaningful life if your own priorities are always at the bottom of the list. It's not selfish to protect your time. Smart. It's necessary. It's how you make space for the things that actually move your life forward. Think of your time like a bank account. Every moment you spend is a withdrawal. So the question is, what are you spending it on? Is it going toward your growth, your peace, your purpose? Or is it being drained by obligations, guilt, and other people's expectations? The truth is, many people have no problem using up your time as long as it benefits them. But ask yourself this. How many of those people show up when you need help? How many offer support not just when it's convenient, but when it's uncomfortable? That's the difference between people who value you and people who just value your availability. And here's a reality check. You don't owe your time to anyone just because they ask for it. You don't need to explain why you're not available. You don't need to feel bad for prioritizing your own needs. You don't need to say yes, just to avoid guilt. You are allowed to say, I can't right now. That doesn't fit with my schedule. I'd love to help, but I need to focus on something important to me. And if someone gets offended by that, they were never really asking. They were expecting. You are not on call for the world. You are a human being with dreams, goals, energy limits, and a life that deserves to be lived, not just managed. I want you to imagine this. You're at the end of your life reflecting on how you spent your time. Will you be proud of the boundaries you set? Or will you regret all the times you said yes when your soul was screaming no? Because here's the truth. Time is not just a unit of productivity. It's not something you fill to look busy or helpful. Time is life itself. Every hour you protect is an hour you can use to create, to grow, to rest, to love, to dream. So protect it. Guard your mornings. Be ruthless with your calendar. Don't let every invitation become an obligation. And don't feel guilty for choosing your peace over someone else's convenience. Because when you spend your time with intention, you become the kind of person who lives on purpose, not by accident. You become someone who wakes up with clarity. Someone who makes room for what matters. Someone who doesn't just chase life, but creates it. So let go of the idea that you must always be available. Release the guilt that says your time is only worthy if it's used for others. You're not here to be everything to everyone. You're here to become who you were meant to be. And that journey, it takes time. So use yours wisely. For your mental health, let me ask you something. Would you drive your car for miles with the gas light flashing, engine overheating, and think, yeah, it'll be fine? Probably not. Because at some point it'll break down. Now, think about how often we do exactly that with our minds. We push. We grind. We stay up late. We say yes when we're exhausted. We tell ourselves to tough it out, even when we feel like we're falling apart inside. And here's the scary part, we get used to it. We normalize burnout. We wear stress like a badge of honor. We convince ourselves that rest is weakness, that slowing down means we're falling behind. But let me tell you, I've lived that script. And it almost broke me. There was a season in my life where I kept pushing, harder, faster, more. Deadlines, expectations, responsibilities. I carried them all. And from the outside, I looked like I had it together. But inside, I was drowning. The things I used to love felt meaningless. I woke up tired even after sleeping. I smiled on the outside while my inside screamed for a break I didn't think I was allowed to take. And you know what finally stopped me? A simple question from a close friend. They looked at me, really looked at me, and said, "You okay? You don't seem like yourself." That hit hard, because they were right. I had become a version of me I didn't recognize. Burnout, blunted, disconnected from my joy, from myself. That moment was a wake-up call. I realized mental health isn't something you fix after everything falls apart. It's something you protect, every single day. You don't have to wait until you're barely functioning. You don't need a breakdown to justify rest. You don't need permission to say, "I need to take care of me." But I get it, people might not understand. They'll say, "You're being dramatic." Other people have it worse. You just need to stay busy. Let me be clear. The people who tell you to ignore your mental health aren't the ones living inside your mind. They don't carry your anxiety. They don't feel your panic at 3 a.m. They don't know how loud it gets when everything around you goes quiet. So why should their opinions matter more than your peace? Mental health is not a trend. It's not a weakness. It's your foundation. When your mind is overwhelmed, your whole life starts to suffer. Your decisions, your relationships, your motivation. Everything becomes harder, even the things that used to feel easy. That's why protecting your mental health isn't optional. It's essential. And that might mean saying no to one more thing on your plate, logging off for the day without guilt, taking time to breathe, to walk, to journal, to cry, asking for help when you feel like you're at your limit. And if anyone makes you feel selfish for doing that, remember this. You can't pour into others from an empty cup. You can't build a fulfilling life on a mind that's constantly breaking down. You can't be everything for everyone if you're barely holding yourself together. You are not weak for needing rest. You are not broken for needing space. You are not failing just because you feel overwhelmed. You are human, and you deserve care. You deserve understanding. You deserve peace. So here's your permission. If you need it, take that break. Cancel that plan. Turn off your phone. Say, "I'm not okay," and let that be enough. Because when you start honoring your mental health, you stop surviving, and you start living. 5. Your boundaries. Let's talk about something that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. Boundaries. The invisible lines that separate what's okay from what's not. The quiet standards that say, "This is how I expect to be treated. This is how far I'm willing to go. This is where I draw the line." But here's what usually happens. You start out clear, confident, firm. But then someone pushes, just a little. And because you want to be kind, because you don't want to seem selfish, you bend. "It's fine just this once. I guess I can stay later." They probably didn't mean it like that. Until suddenly, you're giving more than you want, tolerating more than you should, and wondering how your life started feeling like it belongs to everyone but you. I know this story well because I've lived it. I used to think that saying yes was a sign of love. that being available 24/7 made me loyal, that never speaking up for myself made me humble. But what it really made me was invisible. I became the person people could call at any hour, the one who never said no, the one who kept peace at any cost, even if the cost was my own well-being. And eventually, I cracked. One day, after yet another quick favor I didn't have energy for, I found myself sitting alone, completely drained, wondering why I felt so angry, but couldn't name who I was angry at. Then it hit me. I was angry at me, because I had taught people to ignore my limits. I had trained them, unintentionally, to expect more than I could give. That was the day I realized, if I didn't start protecting my boundaries, no one else would. And here's the truth they don't tell you. Setting boundaries doesn't push people away. It filters out the ones who were only sticking around for what you could do for them. The people who truly love you, the ones who value your energy and your peace, they'll understand. They won't guilt trip you. They won't say, "You've changed." They'll say, "I get it. Take your time. I respect your space." Boundaries are not walls. They're doors. They don't shut everyone out, they let the right people in. And here's something powerful to remember. You don't need to explain your boundaries to everyone. You don't owe anyone a long speech about why you won't tolerate disrespect, why you won't reply to texts after 10 p.m., why you're choosing rest instead of another late-night favor. Your no is a full sentence. Your peace is reason enough. Your energy is sacred. Protect it. And yes, people will test you. Some will get frustrated when you stop making yourself available 24/7. They'll say you're being cold or distant or difficult. But that's because they were more comfortable with the version of you who had no boundaries. The version who always said yes. The version who made herself small so they could feel big. Don't go back to that. Instead, create space. Space for your joy, your rest, your healing. And remember this. You are not responsible for managing how other people feel about your boundaries. You are only responsible for honoring them. Because boundaries aren't about keeping others out. They're about keeping yourself whole. 6. Your financial independence. Let's be honest. Money isn't everything. But freedom? Freedom is everything. And money, when managed right, is what gives you that freedom. Financial independence isn't about being rich. It's not about luxury cars or million-dollar homes. It's about something much deeper and far more personal. The power to choose. To walk away from a job that drains you. To say no to a relationship that feels controlling. To make a move that aligns with your values, without begging anyone for permission. But far too often people give up that power. Sometimes it happens quietly. You move in with someone, and slowly stop managing your own money. You stay in a job that underpays you because the idea of starting over feels terrifying. You rely on family support longer than you planned, and start adjusting your life to their expectations. And at first it feels like comfort. But over time, that comfort becomes a cage. I've been there. There was a season when I thought it didn't matter. As long as the bills are paid, I'm fine. I told myself it was okay to depend on someone else just for a while. But what I didn't see until much later was how slowly I was giving up my independence. How I started second-guessing purchases. How I hesitated to make decisions because they weren't mine to make anymore. It wasn't about money. It was about dignity. About owning my choices. About not having to justify my needs or explain why I wanted something that mattered to me. And that's what people don't talk about enough. Financial independence isn't cold. It isn't selfish. It's self-respect in action. It says, I've got me. It says, I don't need to tolerate disrespect just because I can't afford to leave. It says, my life, my choices, belong to me. Because when you're financially dependent, even the best intentions can come with strings. Maybe they're invisible. Maybe no one says it out loud. But you feel it. That pressure to stay agreeable. That fear of rocking the boat. That quiet voice in your head asking, what happens if they stop helping me? And that's not freedom. True freedom is knowing that no matter what happens, you can take care of yourself. Even if it's not glamorous. Even if it means budgeting tightly. Even if it means saying no to short-term pleasures so you can build long-term peace. It's not about being alone. It's about not being trapped. And listen, if you're not there yet, that's okay. This isn't about shame. It's about awareness. Start small. Learn about money. Track your spending. Set goals. Save a little even when it feels like you don't have much. Every step you take toward financial independence is a step toward emotional and mental independence too. Because the more secure you are financially, the easier it is to walk away from what no longer serves you. The easier it is to say, no, thank you. The easier it is to dream bigger, because now you have options. And options are everything. So protect your financial freedom like your future depends on it, because it does. And don't let anyone tell you that giving up your financial independence is a small price to pay for love, loyalty, or comfort. Because the moment you lose that independence, you may also lose your voice, your ability to choose, your ability to stand tall and say, this is the life I want, and I can build it on my own terms. You don't need to be wealthy to feel powerful. You just need to be free. And financial independence is how that freedom begins. 7. Your passion. There's something in you, something deep, quiet, and powerful, that lights you up from the inside. It's your passion. Maybe it's art. Maybe it's music. Maybe it's building, writing, teaching, exploring. Whatever it is, it's the thing that makes you feel fully alive. And yet, for so many of us, it's the first thing we give up. We tell ourselves we'll get back to it someday. That life's just too busy right now. That our passion doesn't pay the bills, so it's not worth the time. And over time, that voice, that fire, starts to fade. Not because it's gone, but because we stopped feeding it. I remember when I stopped writing. It was something I loved, something that felt like breathing to me. But life got louder, more practical, more demanding. And slowly I started telling myself it didn't matter. That's just a hobby. You should focus on real things. You don't have time for that anymore. And for a while, I believed it. But something strange started to happen. Even though I was doing everything right, I felt dull, disconnected, like I was drifting through the motions of a life that no longer felt like mine. Because here's the truth. When you abandon your passion, you're not just giving up a hobby. You're giving up a piece of your soul. Passion isn't about productivity. It's not about impressing anyone. It's about staying in touch with who you are when no one's watching. It's what keeps your spirit awake in a world that's constantly trying to put it to sleep. And the beautiful thing is, your passion doesn't have to be big to be powerful. You don't have to turn it into a business. You don't need a huge audience. You don't need to monetize it to justify its worth. Sometimes, it's just about having something that's yours. Something that brings you joy, creativity, release, even if it's only for a few minutes a day. Because when you make space for your passion, even in the smallest ways, everything else in your life gets brighter. You become more present, more energized, more you. And yes, people might not get it. They might say, that's silly. Grow up. Focus on what matters. But here's what they don't understand. This is what matters. This is what keeps you from becoming a robot in your own life. This is what makes you interesting, alive, human. Passion is not a luxury. It's a lifeline. And you owe it to yourself to protect it, even when the world tells you it's not practical. Even when you're tired. Even when no one's clapping. Even when it feels like you're starting over again and again. Because doing what you love, even quietly, even imperfectly, is one of the most powerful acts of self-respect you can give yourself. So don't wait. Pick up the paintbrush. Dust off the guitar. Open that half-finished story. Get lost in the thing that makes you forget the time. You don't need to be the best. You just need to begin. Because passion doesn't ask you to be perfect. It just asks you to come home. So, what have we learned? Self-respect, dreams, time, mental health, boundaries, financial independence, and your passion. These aren't just lifestyle tips. They're the foundation of a life that belongs to you, not the world, not your past, not anyone else. Protect them. Prioritize them. And most of all, honor them like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. So here we are. 7 things you should never sacrifice. No matter who walks into your life. No matter how much they promise. No matter how loud the world gets. Because these things, they aren't extras. They're not optional. They're you. And once you start giving them up, piece by piece, you don't just lose time or energy. You lose connection to the person you were meant to be. But here's the good news. You can reclaim them. You can start today. You can say, I will protect my peace. I will guard my time. I will honor my dreams. I will not shrink just to make others comfortable. Because you don't owe the world a version of you that's constantly exhausted, agreeable, and empty. You owe yourself the truth. You owe yourself you. So as this video ends, I want you to ask yourself one honest question. What's one thing I've been sacrificing that I know I need to reclaim? Maybe it's your voice. Maybe it's your creativity. Maybe it's simply the courage to say no. Whatever it is, choose it. Choose you. And if this message resonated with you, if it stirred something real inside, do one small thing to honor it. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a like to let me know this spoke to you. And if someone you care about needs this message, share it with them. Because sometimes, one video, one truth, is all it takes to remind someone of who they really are. Thanks for spending your time here with me. You could have been anywhere, and you chose this. That tells me something powerful. You're ready to stop existing and start living. See you in the next one.